Hey guys, welcome back. This is the Female Esports League Elite of League of Legends, and we will be your shoutcasters for this game. I am Meta.
And I'm Iconic. Hi guys, how you doing? So, what did you think about last game?
Well, Team X was really dominant in that specific block. Eskinol was really scrambling to find their win conditions,
Yeah.
especially on the side of the Nocturne. He was really behind early game and just couldn't find their footing.
Yeah, because they needed that early start, I guess, before Suzy Sor actually became super beefy
Yeah.
as a frontline together with the Zap. So, it was pretty hard for them to claw their way back into the game. But that game's done already. Let's go to this one. It's between GGTY and Unfaithful.
Yeah, and we are already in the pick and bans. Lissandra, Gragas, the usual power picks being banned right off the bat in the first rotation, and they're actually first picking Sejuani. There are changes in patch 9.1.
Yeah, Sejuani actually has more damage now. Even though she has a little bit shorter reach, her damage is actually off the charts right now. She's also a little bit more durable with the change to her passive. And you can see a lot of things aren't being picked up right now. The really meta champions aren't being picked up. Like Galio is still open. He's not even banned at all. Really untouched. I'm looking forward to a really good Galio player in this tournament because of how strong Galio is in the mid lane.
Not sure if you're gonna get that this game though. Swain just locked in on the red side of the Unfaithfuls, and we're gonna go into the second pick and ban. Caitlyn removed. They're targeting Snacky. I guess it is one of the more standard ADCs.
Yeah, Caitlyn is really, really oppressive right now. Especially, there's actually a weird build going around in Korean solo queue about running. Yeah, Grasp of the Undying.
Yeah.
So oppressive, and it's only Caitlyn who can do this because she's so oppressive. She can accelerate by getting those turret platings and then reach those 3 items that you need as a crit AD carry.
Actually, a lot of ADCs are being banned right off the bat. Vayne, understandable, especially with the new buff onto the final hour. The tumble, if you hit your autos, that's just like a second cooldown. Can really be abused. Twitch also out. What is left now? Probably an Ez.
Ezreal is really good right now. I'm still a fan of the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa is still open. But one thing that you have to take note of in the composition coming out from GGTY is that they're all melee right now. And the Fiora is probably going to go top. And then we have a GP mid. Very, very confident coming out from GGTY because Gangplank mid doesn't actually have that many good matchups just because it's usually a melee versus range matchup. You usually don't have priority. Your enemy can just set up a gank onto you, kill you, or deny all your barrels. So
yeah, especially with the new turret plating coming into League of Legends, the lanes are just more extended now. Instead of Kai'Sa, Jinx will be picked up instead by Unfaithful. I guess it is a more comfort pick on their side, while Snacky will go down the more meta Ezreal.
yeah.
Still no support onto GGTY. Probably a Tom
Lulu.
Kench would be nice.
I feel like a Lulu would be perfect here just to get it away from the composition of Unfaithful.
Oh, they're going for a Poke bot instead. They do want to bully that Jinx before it hits too much.
Yeah, because we don't know right now where the Morgana is gonna go. Because it is an amateur tournament, sometimes the players don't actually choose meta champions in optimal roles. So they tend to gravitate towards those comfort picks. So we have a Malphite then picked up, so that kind of signifies that Malphite is gonna go top and Morgana's support. Yeah, so there we go.
Yeah, there we go. So the side of Unfaithful, there's Jinx as their hyper carry. We are definitely gonna look into their level 6 spikes, really powerful engages on their side. While for GGTY, a bit more sustained team fights on their end, kind of difficult to execute. Let's see how they fare later into the Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, for me, just for a last point, I feel like the Karma would have been better if it was a Braum. Can you just imagine this composition with the Braum? So many melee hits, so many free permafrost by the Sejuani onto the enemy team. And then for the side of Unfaithful, the Kai'Sa not being picked up because it's just too much magic damage. But anyways.
Actually, when you said that, Fiora actually didn't opt for a teleport, really opting for that ignite up top. So I don't think they're gonna go for too many team fights. Maybe Moshi Monsta is their trump card, really just gonna go for that dominating lane, split pushing as they go. and while I guess the duo bot just dances around. But let's see if they can execute that later on. So since we're in spectator delay, we will be going back in a minute or two live in the game.
Yeah. So, any final... Who do you think is going to win this game?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because even if we say that their comps are good for this and that and wild for this and that, it's all about the execution.
Yeah.
It's all about the nerves. These are still human beings. So they yeah.
Like, that could play a really big part on, like, how you perform, you know? Like, even though we have these, like, ideal scenarios where this matchup is supposed to go this certain way and that certain way, we still have to realize that, one, it's an amateur tournament. People make mistakes, especially when, you know, you're in the situation, in the zone, and then you're playing against, like, people who are just across from you. It's just a different feeling altogether. Yeah,
definitely. I bet you have so much to say about that since you were a pro player yourself. So yeah, guys, see you in a bit as we head into the game. Hey guys, welcome back. We are casting the Female Esports League Elite of League of Legends. This is the game between GGTY and Unfaithful.
Yeah, so looking forward to this matchup because I haven't seen a GP mid in the longest time. And one thing that he's actually elected to go for is the Grasp of the Undying. So a little less gold generation because usually you see them go klepto.
Getting rooted, getting harassed by a bit. Definitely not gonna have to stand there. Continue.
Yeah, but you know, it's very rare to see a GP mid. And then one thing that you also really interesting is that he's also gone for the Ignite. So he actually wants to play a little bit more aggressive. Got the respect the Ignite damage. Coupled together with his true damage is very, very strong. So yeah, a little bit of early trading in the start of the game, a little bit of gold generation for both supports. You know, 5 gold, 5 gold. If as a support, you'll take whatever you can get.
Yeah, and for Marian Enriquez, it's actually a conscious decision for their side to really pick it so early into drafting, even with such aggressive picks already on Unfaithful side earlier. There was a Morgana, there was a J4. I wonder how well they'll be able to survive that mid lane, especially with a Swain that can just follow up a lot of ganks.
Yeah, and one thing to take note of, for GGTY, Marian Enriquez is actually the highest ranked player on their team. She's actually gold Grandmaster right now. Yeah, well, for the enemy team, Unfaithful, they have 2 Diamond 1 players. So those are the highest ranks on both sides. So these are the players that you should look out for. Basically, it's once a cheater and maybe a cheater. Very interesting names. Very interesting names.
Parang may hugot. Medyo, siguro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on this bot lane, however, this Jinx pick is also not really a common pick in the meta nowadays. We both said that it's probably a comfort pick since Kai'Sa was open when they were banning ADCs left and right.
Yeah, exactly. But they needed a hyper carry on their side, and Jinx is the only hyper carry right now that was actually open that doesn't deal magic damage. Because if they chose a Kai'Sa, it would be so magic heavy for their comp that you could. I'd imagine the Sejuani to actually just get an adaptive helm and be able to soak all of the damage coming out from Unfaithful side.
But its aggression is also a double-edged sword. GGTY opting for like 3 ignites on their side. No teleports for them. It's not even an open spellbook. So if their plan backfires just like that, Marian had to blow his flash right away with just one simple flag by a J4.
Yeah, but that's actually really good. I like that the Jarvan is really insistent on ganking mid, but he didn't pull the trigger on the EQ flash onto the GP because they didn't actually have enough damage. Loved the Swain. He didn't actually have enough damage because he had no mana.
Getting pulled again, harassed again. Good thing he had some oranges packed for his lane, but a bit low in mana right now.
Yeah, what's really good though is he's keeping up in CS. He might actually, after eating that wave, might be equal or even up by 1 or 2 minions. So it's really working out kind of for the GP. Even though Flash was burned, it's still a good thing that he was able to survive the early parts of the game.
Love a cheater on that Swain, actually recalled to get mana crystal to go back into the lane, and also prioritizing some vision control. With this turret plating, team fights left and right will be very much important in the river side.
Yeah, but right now you can see that both junglers just opting to full clear their jungle. So not a lot of early aggression, but you can see that GGTY actually has a ward on the enemy team's Raptors, while Unfaithful has no idea where the Sejuani actually is. So might lead to some early action in this game. Hopefully we'll see a gank onto Sejuani after she clears her Krugs. Probably bot lane might become an option for her.
And that's good on them because GGTY knows that they scale better and they're not exactly aside from mid the most easy lanes or easy comps to be ganked by even by a J4. But let's see, they're already level 4, hitting that 6 quite soon. It will be a different story once the Unfaithfuls have their specials.
Yeah, and right now I feel like it's all on the GP to make sure that he stays relevant this game.
Yeah.
So one thing that always makes a GP a better GP is how good they are with their barrels. Those split second attacks onto when the barrel just hits one, or those attack animation cancels as well. Because it's all about these mind games right now between the Swain and the GP. When will I pull the trigger on the barrel? Because there are some times where you auto and then use your parlay, but there's sometimes you actually fake out the auto attack so that they do your work for you.
Marian Enriquez already has that sheen for her. Those barrels will hurt way more. While vision control, as you said earlier, and Faithful is kind of stepping up, having 2 vision wards on that side of the jungle. GGTY and Unfaithful scrambling for the first blood and getting that Swain off the Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, so as you can see, picking all 3 melee champions in the first part of the draft, you can just see the power of the permafrost coming out from the Sejuani. So I hope that Marian Enriquez actually opts to push this wave a little bit more so that the wave will reset towards her side.
And top lane, really small pokes from Fiora. Doesn't have the items just yet to proc a lot of damage from that Malphite. Both are level 6 though.
And yeah, the Fiora as well opting for Conquer. She's gonna make quick work of this Malphite later on into the game when she gets more AD. Once her damage actually gets converted to true damage, this Malphite won't be that tanky anymore.
Might need to use that ultimate to exit Malphite. Maybe a cheater does just that, but Marian Enriquez has her teammates back.
Yeah, so again, this is really interesting because it feels like GGTY is a more well coordinated team just by seeing like, hey, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna flash, I'm gonna use my ignite, can you back me up with the cannon barrage in top lane? And then it translates to a kill. That also translates to maybe a cheater not getting the wave, opting not to use the first teleport of top lane to go to the top T1. So losing a lot of golden experience there.
And on the side of maybe a cheater is kind of underestimating the amount of damage a Fiora can do. Even with just a Doran's Blade during that time. So I guess she should be a bit more careful about that, going back into his lane. It's just a Cloud Drake that spawned
Cloud
there.
Drakes, yeah.
So
the worst Drakes in the game. So you'd never want to actually prioritize them unless you want to reroll for a different Drake. Usually for laning, you would want like the Ocean Drake, you would want the Infernal Drake. And for sieging, you want Ocean Drakes and Mountain Drakes. But yeah, it's not really something that should be on any jungler's agenda right now in the game. What they should be focusing on is making sure that for Unfaithful side to stop the bleeding on mid lane and top lane, while for GGTY they want to just pressure mid lane and top lane because those two solo carries are gonna be monsters if you get them accelerated to a certain point.
yeah. And these small bits of RNG, like for example, it's a Cloud Drake, actually has a huge impact for teams that just want to scale. So these teams actually don't have a lot of reason to have brawls aside from the lane. Like right now, it's really hard for Marian Enriquez to just dodge those Swain AoEs.
Yeah, so like to build on that point, what you can see right now is the big team fight and
maybe a cheater not having a good time flashed by Lubav helps helps the monster get another kill.
Yeah, so once again, the bleeding just isn't stopping right now because the wave isn't in favor for the Malphite because he chose not to teleport onto the lane. He wasn't able to push it quickly, so the wave was still at a point where he was easily gankable.
Yeah, but while that was happening up top, Unfaithfuls just tried to get that Cloud Drake onto them. Maybe a cheater would have a better time kiting through the pressure up top as the wave gets pushed up onto his turret. Still not opting to teleport onto his lane.
Yeah, so again, losing a lot of minions just by opting not to use that teleport. You can already see that there's a 2-level gap between them. Probably gonna be reduced to 1.5 after he eats that wave. But the story of this game, I feel so far, is the gap in the mid lane. Even though it's a melee versus range matchup, Marian Enriquez is doing such a good job actually getting the lead. And we saw how good she is with the barrels and how she, gets the barrels onto during that first 2v2 between the mid laners and the junglers.
And she's doing all that while keeping an eye out on when he can use her global ultimate. As we can see earlier when maybe a cheater died that first time. So really kudos to this lady here, still taking control even against the strategist. Onto the bot lane, however, it's also still dead set even. We're still waiting for Snacky to get that power spike of his.
Yeah, and one thing you can actually notice here...
Never a cheater goes in and burns that flash off of Marian Enriquez. Will be recalling to safety. We'll be recalling to safety on that. Pings going off at the bot side. Hackdog and Snacky not having a good time poking out the bot laners of Unfaithful. They're still keeping up quite well, and that's not really the best scenario you want, considering a Jinx would scale really late.
Yeah, and one thing you have to take note of is the power spike timing for Unfaithful compared to GGTY. All 3 carries coming from GGTY are Triforce reliant. So the moment they get their Trinity Force, they can just go and fight and win every single fight. Just the gold deficiency coming out from Trinity Force.
Marian Enriquez and Monsta trying to get Love a Cheater here, burning that flash, not gonna get anything there. But still, that's a flash off the mid laner of the Unfaithful.
Very interesting, GGTY almost diving a Swain with ultimate and flash. I thought that things were gonna go bad there, but they just burned the flash and say thank you, ma'am. See you later.
See you.
Yeah.
As you said, they still don't have their Trinity Force in. They still lack one component there, but I guess we will see more dives once they have those power spikes into them. I'm not sure if Snacky will go down the TF route though.
I feel like he would, because there isn't actually a lot of physical damage, so he has no incentive to actually go for the Iceborne Gauntlet.
GGTY triggering down at bot, get a cheater's flash there. Monsta in a bad spot, trying to kite out of it, but I guess maybe a cheater will have enough, but the last hit goes for both teams actually because of that turret hit.
Okay, that was interesting. Mechanical misplay coming out from Moshi Monster, because she could have just flashed onto the Vital and hit it and have enough HP to actually kill maybe a cheater without dying. But
speaking of dives, Love a Cheater doesn't have flash, will get dove again, but the turret's doing work for him. Love a Cheater gets that kill.
And this is one thing that's really hard about diving a Swain, right? The amount of sustain he gets, especially with that Catalyst of Eons, gives him a little bit of HP regen that you don't usually account for. Especially with how often he can use one rotation of spells could heal him for like 60 to 70 HP. That could make all the difference.
Yeah, and it did, and GGTY should take note of that the next time they try to dive the Swain. It's not Lubav on that sedge isn't exactly the nimble Fiora that it was like earlier that can just parry out of those AoE controls. So actually the Unfaithful's getting this Rift Herald now. They're really on point on these objectives, even if their lanes are a bit weak right now.
Yeah, and usually you don't get Herald this early because the moment it's about to expire, you usually can't set up a play yet. Just because of how the game state is right now with the third play thing, how slow things are going, you usually won't be able to get in position for a really high value Rift Herald. What do I mean by a high value Rift Herald? Usually one charge is already decent. If you get the turret, that's decent. But if you get a second charge or a third charge, that is insane value coming out from the Rift Herald.
Yeah, actually, turret plating already fell off like just now. So maybe they'll get more value off of that as Marian Enriquez whittles down this mid T1. The gold lead isn't that far off either, given the kill score, but the level gaps are right there.
Yeah, and I actually
Oh, Infernal Drake being contested by both teams. GGTY will be getting that. Never a Cheater will be taken by Snacky because of all that poke.
Yeah, all that poke and all that damage. This is what I'm talking about. Just the sheen alone gives you so much damage.
Born a Cheater also falls down onto Snacky, really underestimating that combo of that new Ezreal Arcane.
Yeah, Sheen. Sheen is basically the story of GGTY. All of them are Sheen reliant, and all of them have a lot of damage coming out from their side. Even though they're not as tanky compared to having a Jarvan, Swain, and a Malphite, they still deal a ton of damage, especially in this point in the game where people can't itemize armor yet. The only person who has armor on the side of Unfaithful is their tank top laner.
Maybe a Cheater getting caught out again. He does have Flash. Still holding onto it and ults out instead. Man, it just gets I'm not sure if there's vision control or the rotation of GGTY is just really on point in catching Unfaithful into using their skills way too early before a fight starts.
I don't know why Malphite was actually on the left side river because it looked like he was showing intent to gank the Marian Enriquez, the GP in mid lane, but I don't think you can actually get much out of that as a Malphite just because there's a bit interaction with the oranges. The moment you get knocked up, you can just eat your oranges and flash out. So you can actually prevent yourself from even getting pulled back as well. So it would have just been a trade for flash, and you're already leaving the Fiora free in the top lane.
16 minutes into the game, there's around a 3k gold lead on the side of GGTY, courtesy to that unofficial double kill by Snacky earlier. Still building towards that Trinity Force, though Iceborne's already completed on the side of the Malphite to go against that Fiora. That kind of adds to his considerations on which ganks that he really want to try to gank for.
Yeah.
Oh, Marian Enriquez does have his flash, but still holding on to that. They're gonna try to fight, uses the flash, now will get that last tick onto the J4.
Yeah, and as you can see right now, they're just going for another 2v2 brawl, but the karma's already there. They're doing a lot of work onto that
Moshi
Swain.
Monster finishes Love a Cheater, and maybe a Cheater this time will fall into Hawk Dog. Really not finding the fights that he'd want to take.
Yeah, it feels like GGTY is just on another level right now. Really coordinated. It feels like, maybe they actually have voice comms or something. It's like an organized team play. I don't understand because it feels like Unfaithful right now look very lost in like the rotations. They look like they're prioritizing the wrong things. It's very, very sad right now for them. They lose. They're able to get nothing out of that, but lose 2 tier 1 turrets.
Although they had the numbers game in that small skirmish earlier, when maybe a Cheater enters the field after, I'm not even sure if he used his ult during that time. He loses sight of which to target because there's just so many threats on the side of GGTY. Rift Herald kind of used prematurely there. Not sure what they were trying to hope for. I guess it was a mispress.
Yeah, no, this is what we were talking about earlier. When you get Rift Herald, usually like at the 13 to 14 minutes, up to 15, usually people, especially uncoordinated teams, it's very hard to get maximum value out of that Rift Herald, and you just end up getting 100 gold bounty from it and giving 25 over to your enemy team.
Yeah, and they don't have the prio over a lot of lanes right now either. They're just kind of pinned by the aggression of GGTY, and this top turret may go to their side just a bit. There you go. Ignoring that GP ultimate on their side. But a minute is left for the next trick to come back So let's see what fights will be done there.
And I am looking forward to the recall right now from Snacky after this next wave. It looks like he just wants the turret right now. But Snacky should recall because next dragon is coming up in 30 seconds. And she actually should be matching power spikes together with the Fiora and the GP. This is the trip.
Ooh, maybe a cheater has his eyes onto Hawkdog, not letting that one go, while the fight splits onto Lava Cheater. That's Swain trying his best to just survive this 3v1 until Never a Cheater arrives for that combo. Flash is burned for that tank, but double kill goes on to Marian Enriquez before he falls himself to the J4.
Yeah, that was such a hard fight. It was actually a 4v5. This is the thing when you have 3 ignites on one side and your top laner doesn't have a teleport. Usually you shouldn't take fights so liberally just because usually it's a 4v5 and you're walking into a numbers game. You lose the numbers game and it usually gives your enemy a chance to actually get back into the game.
Marian Enriquez actually fell to get a cheater, actually. Then he got a double kill off of that. That means that's quite the hefty bounty to speed up that scaling that we want on the Jinx at this time because they need it. They need it to stay in the game.
The Jinx has barely made 1 item right now, and I hope Moshi Monster does not die for this because top tier 2 is actually very useless for the side of the blue team because you want the bot side to actually be doing more.
The Unfaithful really not stopping this. Moshi Monster just gonna get a kill off of that still. Maybe a cheater and Lava Cheater will try to get revenge for their comrade. Moshi Monster doesn't have mana right now and will actually get out of that while they convert as he converges with Marian Enriquez. What?
Yeah, tunnel visioning onto the Fiora, and they lose 1, plus another turret as well. It looks like Unfaithful isn't making the really bad trade-offs.
Acto was really low right there. Was just trying to get that. Oh, Runa Ans was already up for Get a Cheater. Totally underestimated those rockets.
Yeah, but again, this is the problem with crit ADCs and why they're not super viable right now. They have a really long wake-up time of 3 items, or they suffer if they don't opt for that Storm Razor. Like, as you can see, Get the Cheater not opting for the first item, Storm Razor, is gonna take a little bit faster time to get the Infinity Edge, but that doesn't really help because you don't actually have that much AD with this 2-item build.
And they're really not in the position where they can say they're stalling the game either. The 5k gold lead has been growing steadily, or maintained, and then growing steadily to a 6k gold lead now. Baron is live. Which team comps would have a better chance for this?
I think it would just be GGTY just because they have so much
Never a
gold.
Cheater just gets demolished in his own ultimate. Actually, just stood there because of all of those CCs onto him. Shut down onto Moshi Monster. The Jinx gets that gold, but I don't think that was worth it.
Yeah, because they lose their bot lane turret, and as you can see, they send 5 members just to get 1 person from GGTY, clearing the side lane for the bottom lane of GGTY. They easily get that turret. They're gonna get a lot of chunk damage also on this tier 2 turret in the bottom lane. And Snacky, you were actually right, opted for the Iceborne Gauntlet. Choosing for more zone control, maybe if you pile together the Iceborne Gauntlet with the Cannon Barrage, it makes a gigantic slow field that's going to make Unfaithful have a really unfaithful time, you know? Like,
Yeah. Well, with Moshi Monster and Marian Enriquez heading the front lines, I guess it makes sense for Snacky to just help that out for their win conditions. But for Never a Cheater, his items are hardly completed, but he still initiates a lot of these fights, and I'm not sure if they're getting the value of that right now if Get the Cheater isn't there.
yeah, and one thing is she's building Jarvan as full lethality. As you can see, no warrior still completed. Actually, the Tiamat, they actually nerfed it for junglers just because it costs more now. It takes a longer time to get it, so you can't power farm as often as junglers used to do in 8.24 and the previous patches.
And the sad part is she doesn't really have a choice but to go through the build now, even if he's a lot of CS behind that just completed her first item. So What Unfaithful will probably need if they want that J4 to work on all those initiates is just really group up now, because that's the only way they can get to pick. They were initially a pick comp, but now they need to group up for a pick.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing, because if you have to go for a pick and dedicate 5 people to just get one person, you usually leave the Fiora, maybe the GP, maybe the Ezreal on the different side of the map, just adding pressure, making you not be able to get anything out of said pick.
Yeah, but if Unfaithful actually pulls that off, Moshi Monster doesn't have teleport. So all those grouping up, and if they forced all these correct fights like they do right now, but Marian Enriquez just falls to... I mean, Never a Cheater just falls to Marian Enriquez just like that, because as you said, that lack of items, that waste of resources.
And the barrel skill out of Marian Enriquez is really good. Like, I haven't seen this level of GP play in a really long time. It feels like almost a triple barrel coming out, and almost
he's just
insta
going in ham onto a 3-man stack of Unfaithful shutdown onto Marian Enriquez. Get the Cheater getting all those procs for those skills. They're trying not to stop to get back into the momentum. Lava Cheater tries to make something happen, but flashes were burnt. Moshi Monster will be facing a not so fed J4 and will be going out of his way.
Yeah, caster curse right there. I was just about to praise Marian Enriquez for being as good as a GP one trick. Immediately hits a triple barrel and then goes all in onto the Jinx with both summoners up.
Yeah, and while that was happening, maybe a Cheater was caught in their own jungle, and sadly they would have to give Infernal in that sad way.
And it's so scary right now because you have triple carry composition coming out from GGTY, and they have 2 Infernal Drakes. You never want to even give 1 Infernal Drake to your enemy team, because that's worth at least 500 gold, up to 1,000 per Drake.
And given that, it just becomes more apparent that Unfaithful really just has to minimize all these solo mistakes of being caught out, or initiating something that they can't win, because they need to play around the Jinx now more than ever, even with all those damage stacked. But the thing is, I don't think Born a Cheater on that Morgana is the most capable to enabling a Jinx at this point.
Yeah, and exactly. This just goes back to the draft, right? GGTY drafted a very greedy composition, and Unfaithful didn't know how to respond. They chose a Morgana first pick, and then after that, they last picked the Malphite. They were like, the enemy team seems to be all AD. Let's pick a tank that does really well with a lot of armor. Picks the Malphite. But it was such a bad matchup for Fiora, just because Fiora can just get free farm. I was actually surprised that Fiora didn't go Klepto. Had she gone Klepto, she would actually be 3 items right now, 100%.
Yeah, and I guess we will see more of those comp mistakes go into more team fights right now. Never a Cheater trying to complete her next item, struggling, so as they just try to get as much resources as they can, as the map slowly gets smaller for GGTY. Their top inhib is open right there, and Moshi Monster is just unstoppable in a solo lane.
Yeah, you can't do anything about this anymore. Unfaithful have to stop the bleeding, so the only option is either go 5v4 against GGTY, or they send 2 people to bot lane to 3-man the Fiora. That's the only way they win, or else they actually slowly bleed out, because remember, GGTY outscales Unfaithful. They have triple hard carry on their side with a tank and a really good utility support. It just looks very grim right now for Unfaithful.
Well, they are converging up top, as maybe a Cheater is kind of left down at bot just to slow down Moshi Monster from doing anything else. This is one of the better times to make something happen though on the side of Unfaithful, given that 3 flashes are down for GGTY. They're just prepping up slowly but surely for that Baron, or maybe the game.
Yeah, and even though we're talking about like Baron taking speeds, right? Saying that GGTY can take it easily, it's still not as fast compared to having a Kai'Sa, a Kog'Maw, a Varus. There is a lot of percentage health damage missing on GGTY. They don't even have the Blade of the Ruined King completed for the Ezreal. So it's gonna take them a really long time. So what they're doing right now is they're just suffocating Unfaithful, denying vision control, making them play in their heads like, oh my god, they're gonna go Baron. We better face check this brush. Face check into a barrel, face check into an Ezreal ultimate, and then just die off that one pick.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see that by the itemization of Ez. He just really wants to stay in the game, like in the lanes, like for so long. Look at that, all that mana onto him.
Yeah, coupled with the mana flow ban, he's just gonna be poking for non-stop. Like, what can they actually do? Nothing, absolutely, because they just have to choose. And Unfaithful, slowly but surely, their time is running out. They need to make a decision, or else GGTY is just gonna bleed them out.
Summoners are all up on the side of GGTY. They have prio in all of the lanes. They're just, as you said, just exhausting the choices of Unfaithful. Unfaithful may have a really strong initiate on their side, but those who has the power to initiate are kind of behind and they don't last long. So at this rate, are they just waiting for the mistakes of GGTY?
That's their only choice right now. It's either they take the initiative on a mistake or they lose the game. Basically that. One thing to note though is GGTY's siege isn't that good because Ezreal doesn't actually have really long range but has decent poke. But he can't poke all of Unfaithful down in a short span, unlike an Orianna, which can do a lot of poke damage. Interestingly enough, though, the last elemental Drake is about to spawn in 40 seconds. The next dragon will be an Elder Dragon, so GGTY has another win condition coming up pretty soon.
Oh, maybe a cheater trying to get out of that rumble as he refuses to give a kill onto GGTY, but they will surely take this turret with not much contest. Oh, Swain there getting his allies some room to breathe as Born a Cheater pulls the trigger onto Hackdog as a shutdown gold goes to the J4.
Yeah, so I don't know what I just saw there. Did I just see
I'm not sure.
EQ and E flash Q? I think coming out from the Jarvan, so that was pretty interesting. A little bit of nerves again coming through.
Lubaf trying to get something onto the Swain, but Never a Cheater is already there. GA may be on Marian Enriquez, but we're not sure if he's gonna fall down. And Lubaf gets a kill onto Never a Cheater. Swain is still alive though. And the rest of the team of the Unfaithful is just trying to get their momentum back, being able to pull that Sejuani in. But as I said earlier, they have their summoners. It's like a second chance, and they will not get their comeback there.
Yeah, this is what we should have been seeing 5 minutes earlier when Unfaithful should have been pulling the trigger. They were pulling the trigger a bit too early this game, and then when they were supposed to pull the trigger, they didn't. They just chose to play it passively. And now GGTY is just scary because you can see 3.5 items coming out from the Fiora, 3.5 items coming out from the Sejuani, 4 items on the GP, and 3.5 on the Ezreal. If you just compare it to their counterparts, it seems so minuscule right now for Unfaithful. They're so, like, this 10k gold lead actually feels more like 20 just because of how efficient the itemization comes out from GGTY plus the double Infernal Drakes.
The thing is, it's actually a Cloud Drake up right now, not yet an Elder, but that Cloud Drake will surely help them just run down Unfaithful even more. But as you were talking about efficiency, notice how, like, actually since like 5 minutes before, the vision control on the side of Unfaithful has been struggling quite a bit as well, because GGTY always leaves a slot. No matter how fat they get, they actually leave a slot for a lot of vision control. So that's another reason why the Unfaithful is struggling to just pull that trigger, because they just can't fight over the map.
Yeah, and aside from that, they have 3 red trinkets on the side of GGTY. You can really tell that they're trying to suffocate Unfaithful, trying to deny them all that vision control. And what I want to see right now, the only way that GGTY is gonna win is if they force a fight, 4v4, or they do the split push. Like, they need to get the Malphite to match the Fiora, and then the Fiora has to solo kill the Malphite.
So while we're talking about all this macro play on the side of GGTY, let's talk about what Get the Cheater on that Jinx may be thinking right now, seeing that most resources of Unfaithful is on her. if she falls, then there's just very little threats that GGTY is gonna be scared for. So, and being in that mindset in the tournament, I'm not sure if she can be that jinx that her team needs when the aggression has to start. Like now for Mariana Enriquez, just really going ham and getting a kill onto Born a Cheater, going down herself as Lubav goes into a killing spree. Love a Cheater caught off guard by a 4-man stack, just trying to get away. Ignites, so many ignites on her actually.
Yeah, and just when you were talking about like what should be going through Get the Cheater's mind, I was about to say your flash is what's going to win the game, because there's so many threats coming out from GGTY. You need both summoners to actually just be able to have a chance of winning a team fight, and they immediately go for a team fight and burn both summoners. Unfaithful, again, not on the same page. Start the fight, maybe a cheater wasn't even there, channeled her TP late, and they just lost 2 people, and they lost Baron. This is the important right now, because GGTY can make a Baron power play and choose to take any of these inhibitor turrets, maybe even all 3 inhibitors, if they play it right.
The thing is, I think the comp on Unfaithful, the way the fights happen, could have actually worked if the people they're trying to respond to actually last when they get there. But when we see that they're so seemingly uncoordinated, and that's because they just don't last. And that goes back to the itemization that we saw on Never a Cheater, still going for a very aggressive build actually, if you notice.
Yeah, like Never a Cheater getting chunked just like last fight.
Just like that, and maybe a cheater will try to get away, but Hackdog, the support, will just be getting that kill, no problem. And this is still the bleeding, as you say, they're still bleeding out, and those fights will cost them so much objectives, especially with Baron buff onto them, and Marian Enriquez just getting so much damage into all of these players of the Unfaithful, bursting left and right, and this may be game.
Yeah, most probably game, because you have 4 down, your support's level 13, their support's level 50, and I don't think Born a Cheater can do anything. It feels like Unfaithful got cheated today because they lost the game, but it's actually GGTY just being the better team right now.
Yeah, Marian Enriquez, as you said, is their card.
Yeah.
And that level 18 GP on that untimely part of the game is just the end of Unfaithful. But it is a double elimination bracket.
So they actually have a second chance still. And I don't know, I felt like it was just a GGTY. And yeah, let's take a look at our brackets.
Yeah. As what we've been saying earlier, there's just a lot of games going on at the same time. Barcy Esports is actually fighting Excellent Era right now, while Criminal Club Manila will be going against Team X, the one that we're casted for Game 1. And in a bit, GGTY will be actually facing another team who had a bye called Proxima. And in a bit, we will see those games come into fruition.
So yeah, we've been your casters. It's me, Iconic.
And I'm Meta.
And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned for the third game.
Yeah,
today.
in the third round.
All right, see you guys. Bye.